Hello there! I hope that the day has been good to you. I hope the week has been good to you and that things are going well. So for this video, I just wanted to talk about something that's been bugging me. It's been bugging a lot of fans. So welcome Marvel fans, welcome MCU fans, welcome whoever's watching. So let's just get right to it. Something that I've been reading about, that I've been listening to. I run a Facebook page on Marvel, and Sebastian Stan was on Facebook, so I'm pretty engaged in different communities, and something that I've been reading, not just within those communities, but on Hollywood Reporter and things like that, is the lack of closure between Bucky Barnes and Steve Rogers. Now, if you've watched the movies and if you've read the comic books, you know that they are best friends, but they have an incredibly tight bond because there's something that's beautiful that Captain America says. He says, "When I had nothing, I had Bucky." And it sets up a very strong relationship, a very strong friendship, a very grounded friendship, and one that's filled up with love, with trust, and hope within each other, which is one of the reasons that Captain America, or Steve Rogers, defends Bucky in the Civil War film. And goes out of his way to protect him, to find him, things like that, because he truly believes that Bucky is not necessarily the Winter Soldier, but he's still Bucky. And it's that belief and that hope and that trust and that love that really helps Bucky to get to Wakanda, and for Shuri to help him undergo treatment so that he's no longer brainwashed. So that's a mouthful on its own, but in Avengers Endgame, and if you haven't seen it, I'm so sorry, but go out and see it because it's awesome, but there's spoilers, so stop watching right now. In Avengers Endgame, we see Captain America, Steve Rogers, suit up to go through the quantum realm to return the Infinity Stones. And we see a very despondent, almost very emotional, distraught Bucky. And people are saying that, well, they're not happy with the lack of closure between the two characters, and we see Bucky say to Cap, "I'm gonna miss you, bud." And then one of their famous lines is, don't do anything stupid until I get back." And Bucky says, "Well, how could I? You're taking all the stupid with you." It's just something that they used to say to each other. It's a very strong bond. It's a very strong relationship, like I said. And we see Captain America choose something that seems very out of character. He goes back, takes the stones back, puts them back in their timeline, and then decides to live in the past with Peggy Carter and live out the rest of his life. And some of the argument is, did he live in the current timeline? Did he go back in time and stop her from marrying the man that she did marry and having the kids that she did with him? What is going on? That seems really selfish. Well, number one, Peggy says that she married a man who Captain America saved during World War II. But we never see a picture of him. We never hear his name. We see pictures of their children in Captain America, the Winter Soldier, but we never see a picture of her husband. We never really hear much about him. We just know that he was someone that was saved during World War II. Well, one of the theories is, well, what if Captain America, Steve Rogers, was her husband the whole time and was just kept under wraps? Which is really cool, because it means that there were already branches in reality created before anybody even took the stones out of their places in the current timeline. So it's like there's this loop, and there's this idea that they're just interrelated elements. It's just the way that it is. It's just the way that time flows. They're relative to each other, irrespective of the time, the time and space that they exist in, per se. They're just different locations within time and space. So, is that what it is? That's kind of the theory. Or did he go back in time and live in a alternate reality? And therefore, that means that there was already a branch. I do not believe that Steve Rogers went back and stopped her from meeting her husband or anything like that. I think that he simply was the unnamed husband. And I think that Bucky is very distraught because to some degree he most likely knows. And it's very possible that Captain America already told him, or that Bucky already met an old man Cap. Whatever the case is, we we do see a sadness, and we do see a great deal of distress that's on Bucky's face, because he's saying goodbye to his best friend. And people have been talking about it as though, you know, that there's this lack of closure between these two best friends, and then that Sam Wilson gets the Captain America shield and becomes Captain America. Well, he is very fitting to be Captain America, and in the comic books, if you read comic books, or if you haven't, Sam Wilson does an incredible job. Bucky holds the place of Captain America as Captain America for a very short period of time when Captain America disappears, and he does it in order to honor his friend. But I guess the argument is, why is there a lack of closure? Why is there a lack of conclusion between them? And it's completely out of Steve Rogers' character. I mean, I think there's so many different angles to come at it from. But I think I know why the Russo brothers decided to go with it, and I don't think it's necessarily to create disdain and discomfort. To a great degree it is, because we're losing Captain America, but it's also a very sweet ending for Captain America. But it also is significant because it sets up the idea of the multiverse and the different dimensions of reality, which means that just because they went back in time and put the stones back in position where they were taken out of, that doesn't necessarily mean that they erased the branches of reality that were already created. Why is that important? Because it sets up the rest of the MCU for the future and what's to come, which is kind of super exciting, because it kind of comes to a point where we've converged to the end and we're like, well, what's happening now? Like, what do we have left? So much. The answer is so much. So that's kind of why I think they might have done it. And again, some people are arguing this, it ruins the movie, so on and so forth. And I think that, to a great degree, Captain America he saved his best friend. He saved everybody. He's done what he wanted to do. And he decides to go and live a life that Tony kept saying, get one. And one of his best friends, Natasha Romanoff, says, get a life. Go and get a life. And Bucky is doing okay. He is cured, I guess. He's no longer brainwashed. And he has Sam. And Falcon and Winter Soldier are gonna get their own series together, but Winter Soldier serves on Captain America's side. Bucky and Captain America have always ever been a team. Well, Steve Rogers and Bucky, but Captain America and Bucky have also always been a team. They've worked as a team, and so I don't think it's not fitting that Bucky is still at the side of Captain America. It's because of what Captain America stands for. Now, Sam Wilson might not be a super soldier, but he sure as hell has a great amount of integrity, and he certainly fits the job. And that's one of the reasons that Captain America and Sam Wilson are really, really close, and that's one of the reasons that the shield goes to him. So from that perspective, I understand that, again, I think it's more bitter than it is a sweet ending for some people to accept, but I think to a great degree it is very sweet that there's a closure for Captain America, who for 100 years, well, not really, because for 70 of those years he was in the ice, but that there is a conclusion and there is an end so that we can move on. But there's a very significant path there, and that is the idea of the multiverse, and the fact that, or the idea that, just because they put the stones back does not mean that multiple branches of reality was not created, which then tells us that Captain America didn't go back in time and stop Peggy from marrying the man that she married and having the children that she had and having the good life that she did, but instead did so in a different reality and then made it through to the current reality where he's able to say goodbye. Well, not really say goodbye. He can serve as the director of the Avengers, and he can still lead them. He's just an older Steve Rogers is all. He's just not holding the mantle of Captain America. And so that's what I think. That's why I think they most likely did it, to set up the rest of the MCU for us, for the future, to see what's coming, the idea of the dimensions, the alternate realities, and what a lot of fans are thinking, what I think, is going to end up being Secret Wars. And if you don't know about it, read the comic books or watch more videos. I'll probably, bring up some comic books and discuss some of the stories. And so go out and go geek crazy, go nerd out, go have fun. The comic books are amazing. And I think that that's where the road is leading, and that's awesome. So I think that that might be why they decided to do something like that with the setup of multiple branches in reality, irrespective of putting the stones back. And there's a connection there, and we can see it with the new Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, where it has been confirmed that the villain that we see is not necessarily from our time. He's from Earth, but he's not necessarily from our time, and that is Mysterio. So it's awesome because it means that there's a multiverse, and it means that it's confirmed that Steve Rogers wasn't completely selfish, that he didn't do something that was completely out of character, but instead he understood that he could live an alternate reality within the current timeline and still make it back to be able to hand over the shield at that point in time, and sets up the Marvel Cinematic Universe for multiple dimensions, multiple realities, the multiverse essentially, and a whole bunch of other characters. So super excited about it, super looking forward to it. I hope that you are. So that is my spiel on that. That is what I have to say, and I'm really excited about it, as you can probably tell. But yeah, so that's what I have to say, and I hope that you enjoyed watching. Leave comments, let me know what you think, and I guess time will tell if my theory, I guess, is correct. But you have a great evening, a great day, wherever you are. Love and light to you. Bye.